Hey, good morning, everyone. All right. Andre says, no, you haven't. Okay, there it goes. All right, yeah, nice. Great. So we're back on the buff system today. Gonna get some UI going at some point. Also, here's an interesting thing. There is now a Botland wiki. Morning, Roving Eye, morning, Void Dreamer, and good morning, Orangey. So if you go to wiki.bot.land, in fact, this isn't loading. That's not good news. I wonder if bot.land is even up? Okay, good. At least that's up. I don't know why this is taking so long. Well, let's let it chug along. Maybe it'll work. Actually, you know what? Let me try in an incognito tab. Nope. Nope. Yeah, I don't know why that's happening. Okay, so commands, we'll put into the help command. Hey, good skinny. We'll put in a wiki command, and we'll just throw this here. Wiki. Find out more about Botland here. Okay, well, this isn't loading. So much for, oh. Alright, it redirected me to the index page. Oh, hey. Someone must have modified this. Shall I remove the wiki on GitHub and replace it with a link to the permanent wiki? Yeah, I think so. Let me go check the GitHub. github.com/voiddreamer botland tracking. This is really slow. Yeah, Quantum KO. Can you create an account with this? Interesting. Okay, wiki. What do we have on there right now? Oh, good. All right, this is just copy pasted from the site I had with some markup applied to it, which, by the way, thank you for that. I would just have felt bad if you typed all this up yourself and then we decided to not go with this. All right, cool. Yeah, so the wiki's up. It's probably going to be super slow. I'm using shared hosting for it, and it's the account that's also hosting bot.land and botland.net. So we will eventually get some information here. I just wanted to point out that it is a thing, and now hopefully we should be able to type bang wiki over here. Yeah, find out more about Botland here, wiki.bot.land. Oh, that's weird. The slash here is not part of the link. So I guess I can just delete that. That's kind of weird on Twitch's part, right? No, I didn't put too much work in here. Okay, good. Just have to make sure. How many apps can you run on a baby server? Yeah, not too much. They say that you have technically unlimited everything, but it's only unlimited until you start causing problems. All right, and then we can take a look. I'll say at the start of 12/1/15, I have 981 followers. Also, not sure if it would help, but I've also HTMLized the privacy policy in EULA if you'd like to put them on the wiki as a page or used elsewhere. I don't think I want to put them on the wiki because here's what's going to happen. Every time I need to make a change to those things, so if I go here, every time I need to make a change to these, I would need to re-HTMLize it. And I have a pretty good feeling that 90% of the people are only checking this checkbox and not actually reading the privacy policy in EULA. So I appreciate this the offer. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna end up doing that. Once Botland is released, yes, I need to make this page much more readable. That shouldn't just be two links to a couple of documents. All right, let's see what's going on the server. We got HSRU has been logged in since yesterday. I'm just gonna deploy random bots. I'm not even gonna take a look at this. Let's just put if can move in any direction, and set this to right. Yeah, great. I read it. I had my lawyer read it. I did it by hand a few weeks ago. I was bored. Well, yeah, and thank you. And yeah, the other reason, by the way, is the EULA right now mentions a whole lot of you have loyalty points, etc., etc. Eventually, it'll be very different because we will be collecting information. I don't ever plan on like spreading that information with other people, but yeah. So this will probably eventually change. Okay. So yeah, let's take a look. What have we done from yesterday? Nothing. This is not important. So yeah, where we left off was making the UI. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, this stuff. I got to do this at some point. Also, I guess I could say like Christmas lights. Here are some lower priority things I can do. Actually, that shouldn't be here. Yeah, let's put this here. I'll just say when this was created. Also, one other thing, as long as I'm messing around with this stuff, let's change has pre-beta to, I'm just going to hard code my mods in right now. Or maybe there's a way to make it, let's see, has pre-beta. Where did I even code this? It wasn't in there. I think it was in the like command, has pre-beta. Yeah, these files don't mean anything. Hey, Wouter. Yeah, 19 left. And I appreciate your tweet. I clicked like on it. I've been trying to make it a point to go check Twitter as much as possible. There's probably a way to have it just email me notifications. All right, so let's see. Can we get whether the sender is a mod or not? There's got to be some way of doing this. What are some other mod commands that we have? What's an add command? This is something that mods probably have access to, right? Helpcom mod, addcom mod. So where is addcom used? Where is addcom used? Oh, I searched for the dumbest thing. Here we go. If not is mod, then say mod message. What is mod message? Let's try this out. Let's see, sender and event.get tag. So we need event.getSender. Wait, giveaway command? Yeah, so if sender and event.get tag say mod message. All right, let's try this out. What does this do? Can you type? Wait, no, this is. Wait. Okay. Can you type? Adam, I took down the website as I've got another order. Also, December 1st, 17 was a nice time to take it down. Well, thank you again for what you did there. And we'll be shorter. We'll be here shorter. I've got a Skype call later today. Okay, cool. Only a moderator has access to that command. Okay, so let's delete that so now if anyone else types it, it'll work. So now what we can do is we can do this. We can block it based on moderator. You know what I can do? I can make a command called function ensure. No, I'm not going to do this. We'll just do this. Okay, so now if I type has pre-beta, it works. Okay, next. Void Dreamer, can you type has pre-beta orange ray? Sorry, I'll put this on the screen. I just wanted to make sure that I got this mod thing working correctly. Under Zero says, hi, I'm working, I can only hear. Okay, hi Under Zero. Okay, so yeah, Oren's not a moderator, so Oren can't do that. Void Dreamer's possibly not here. But whatever, all right. we'll figure that out later. So now at least we can get moderator commands. And I'll just save this for now. So we're done with that as far as I'm concerned. So what is coming up? We've got these buffs. Show a UI for the player that lets them choose. So let's do buff choosing UI planning. Making mods / good. Yeah, perhaps someday there will be new mods, but I feel like the channel hasn't been large enough to even require like more than one mod, to be honest. Doesn't stop me from having them. You can always make me mod for science. Everybody's a mod day. So the requirements are you need to be able to choose one of the 3 mods. And so perhaps we mock this up. Mock up in plain HTML. So you need to be able to choose one of the 3 mods. And you probably need to be able to dismiss the dialog and show it again. I've got my hammer ready. Is that a tonberry? Huh. Is that a tonberry? It is. Neat. And actually, I don't even want to consider this a requirement for now. For now, I think we just force you to pick one. And if you can interact with the game somehow, then fine, but it's not super important right now. We'll just force you to pick one for now. Okay, so mockup in plain HTML. I'm not even sure if that matters. We really just need 3 buttons. So what do you need to know in order to choose these? Mod name, mod description. Should I name mods? I never actually thought about this. Or they're not even called mods. What am I talking about? They're called buffs. Okay, well, shows how much I'm paying attention. Alright, so mods right now have a description. But I feel like what would be nice is if they had a name as well. So we could call this, oh, I'm not going to do names yet. Let's just have a description. So buff description and then a choose button. All right. Yeah, all right. I think I should mock this up. Let's take a look at, I believe there was a time when I did this before. Was it in the Delve folder? Database test. No, it's not there. Test HTML. We could put it in here. Yeah, let's just do this. Okay. So let's get rid of this stuff. We don't need lorem ipsum text. We don't need these buttons. So how should I do this? Let's say div class equals buff choice. We could say something like span class equals buff description. And let's just pull the descriptions directly from here. We'll just say increases damage dealt by 15%. And then let's put a button here. Class equals buff choose button. Choose. Okay, now we need these classes. So buff choice, we're gonna just make some stuff up for now. I don't really want to spend a ton of time on this. We'll just say 2em. Buff description will be something like this for now, and then buff choose button. Font size, there. Okay, let's open this in the browser and take a look. Oh good, HSRU is actually back. Wow. Alright, so let's put this over here. Alright, so increases damage dealt by that, and there's a choose thing there. Let's put a border around this. Border 2px solid black. Great. Now let's make it... do we want to absolutely position these things? We could put all 3 buff choices into, okay, so let's do this. We'll make 3. We'll say decreases damage taken by 15%, and then increase missile range by 1. So we've got our buffs. These are being displayed vertically right now. We want to display them all horizontally. So we're going to say div class equals all buff choices. Tab all this in. Put this here. And then say all buff choices No, it really doesn't have anything. Maybe we put a border around this too. Border 2px solid red. That way we can tell where it is. Okay, great. Now we want this to be laid out a little bit differently. So I want it to be a horizontal choice. So essentially what I'm trying to get toward is this. You have a buff, and there's some description here. And then there's a choose button. Choose. Okay, and then this is going to be laid out on the screen such that it shows up. This probably needs to be a little bit bigger. Such that it shows up 3 times. And it's like roughly centered. Maybe it goes like this. Yeah. So that's kind of how I want to get this too. So I was thinking this, which I will draw in red. This is going to be a div that just contains them all, which is 100% width. And then these are spaced out evenly inside of it. Something like that. So let's see. Then these shouldn't really be divs, right? They should be spans, and they should probably have, well, I guess they could be divs. They should probably have a max width. Let's say width is 33%. Okay. Great. Let's actually cut it down to 30%. Okay, and then we also have display inline block. There we go. Well, it's almost correct. I guess we have to say height. Will that work? No, that won't work. Not for divs. Unless we say the height here of what all buff choices needs to be. Height 400 px. Why is this lowered a bit? Weird. That is weird. And then the other thing we want to do here is these should technically be, well, there could be a BR here. Okay. So it is strange that this somehow got bumped down. I'm not sure how that happened. This has 247, 247, 247. All buff choices. Yeah, that fits. I don't know why this happened, but I'm pretty sure. So I've run into this before. Let me take a look at my notes from whenever I try screwing this stuff up. Suppose you have this div. No. Float inline block. Yeah, so you can see I had output, text area, text area. So I said display inline block. Oh, and I give them width. I could float them, yeah. I wrote a note to myself. This is a good resource on float. Flow elements to the right or to the left. And so the other thing I can do here is I can just position all of these absolutely in JavaScript, and that's actually not such a bad thing. Either way, this is pretty much fine. Maybe we want to center this button though, which I don't think we can just say like margin auto here. No, yeah, we need to say what the width of this is with 100%. And we can't do that either though. That's not what I want. With 50%? Nope. Can we put it inside a div? Div style equals margin auto with 100%. No. Well, this shows how much I know about this stuff. Yeah, whatever. Whenever I find myself needing to do anything like this, I always just do a bunch of research on how best to do it. But this UI is not going to be final anyway, so I don't think this is worth Oren Frey. Okay, cool. The mod command is working. Yeah. Anyway, this is good enough, I think. We will start to work on this. So what this means is we need a reducer that takes care of storing this data. So in client main right now, we have something like received buff choices. These now need to go into a reducer, and these also need to be reset every match. Yeah, so start a new game. We need to say this dot reset buff choices. Received buff choices. Yeah, and now there has to be a reset buff choices. So we need an action and we need a reducer. Let's see how this will look. We want to say set buff choices. Good. And now there's export function set buff choices, which takes in, I guess, the buffs. No, it shouldn't be. It should really just be the data of the buffs. Maybe something like descriptions and IDs. We'll say buff data, return type, and buff data. Margin 0 auto, but on the div. Yeah, it's possible that's what I should have done. Let's go take a look. We put it on the buff choice div. Margin 0 auto. Or wait, no, that was on the div around this. Yeah. Div style equals margin 0 auto. Yeah, I don't know. It's something to do with the widths that I have set up, I'm pretty sure. And like I said, I think I'm just going to absolutely position this stuff for now anyway. Alright, so we've got this now, set buff choices. Next, we need to import it from client main. So we need this here. We'll put this here. And in reset buff choices, we're going to say store.dispatch set buff choices to nothing. Or maybe we should say it's null. Though we know there's no UI to show. Doesn't really matter either way. I'll set it to null for right now. Okay, so there's that. Next up here we need to say const buff choice data is this. And then we say buff choice data dot push. We're gonna push something that has description. So buff dot description, which I don't think buffs have a get description, do they? No, I could write it in, get description. Return this get turn. This dot description. Okay, buff dot get description. And then there's also got to be the ID in there, definitely. So buff dot get ID. Great. Next, we do store dot dispatch set buff choices buff choice data. Okay. Wrap the button in a div with 0 auto and width 100. Yeah, I can try that. Width 100%. Shouldn't all divs be 100% by default though? Like, let's see. This div, yeah, that's correct. And now the button, do I just need to say what the width of this is? 50px? No. Doesn't work. Wait, no, it can't be width 100 margin auto. It has to be something like width 50%, right? Yeah. Yeah. With 50% margin auto. There we go. Or really, any number that's not, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I think it's something like this. But that at least centered it. Yeah. And hey, Atomics. Okay. Let's go to the reducer now, and let's take this, set buff choices. There's going to be something that needs to know about this. I don't know if it should be a new reducer. I feel like it should be. Yeah, let's make a new one. So I'll say const buff choice initial state equals buff data null. Great. And then we say export function buff choice reducer state equals buff initial state, action equals null, switch action dot type, case this. I'm gonna say we really just want to set, so let's do this. Turn object dot assign state buff data. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and then default return state. No, we definitely need that. Otherwise, this reducer is going to screw up everything else. So all this is doing is setting the buff data. Okay, great. Next, let's do something really simple here. Let's go to Botland app. This is not where this is going to end up, but I just want to do this as simply as possible for now. Buff state, buff choices state is state dot this. Good. We go into reducer index and we add these in here. So we put this here. All right. Next, here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to say the same thing I kind of did for chat log. Yeah. I want to do something like this. So let's put this here. We'll say this dot props dot buff choice state dot buff data not equal to null. Then we do this, which is going to be obnoxious. So we do this dot map to buff data. I know this is going to look really ugly, but like I said, just want to test this. So we'll just make a div, and the div will have a key of the buff data's ID, and the description is going to be, we'll put this here. We'll say buff data. I don't know exactly how this is going to work. I think it's got to work like this. Buff data dot description. I'm probably screwing up the JSX here, but sacrifices need to be made. Okay, so we map it to this. Yeah, this has got to be wrong. Right? Is there anywhere else I do this? Not in here, I don't. Well, like I said, I think this is going to be wrong. But let's save it and see what happens. Does it complain at me? Well, it hasn't so far. Oh, okay. Well, maybe that worked. I don't know. This won't look good. And, oh, I haven't been paying attention over here. This won't look good, but maybe it'll at least display. Hey, Andrew. Hey, chat, how am I doing? I'm doing pretty well. I can't speak for chat, but I've been pretty happy with how things have been going lately, and I think this feature that I'm working on now is going to drastically change the game experience for the better, and that's going to be pretty sweet. So buff data is not defined. I don't know exactly where this is coming from. I mean, it has to be there, but why is that happening? Oh, no, it's not there. It's because I'm stupid. Okay, so reducer temp, we change this from buff data to buff data action.buff data. There we go. So yeah, by the end of today, you should be able to pick buffs at various points in the match, and then I should play a match or two and figure out how things are going. All right. So somewhere on this page should be buff. There it is. Check it out. We got this. So there's the buff information. Now, if I were to call a function, so can you guys see that? Yeah, you can. Okay. So if I were to call this function, let's do this. Debug main.debug store.dispatch. This is going to be kind of tough. We need to dispatch. First, let's get rid of this. We need to dispatch an object with type set buff choices. I don't remember what I called it. What did I call it? Set buff choices. Nice. Okay, set buff choices. And then we say buff data is null. All right, so when we do this, we should see these divs go away. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, if I set that into something else, this would actually be really tough to do in Chrome at least because of how I have to type all this in line. But if I said something like this, ID1. Oh, I forgot to put a key there. Where's Botland at? Here. Oh, no, I didn't. I have a key there. Okay, ID1 description Adam is cool. Oh, it worked. Okay, that's good. Andrew says, oh yeah, what are you working on? You mean the buffs? Yeah, the buffs. So for anyone who is not aware, and it's morning, so most people are probably aware in here of how the game works and what I'm doing. But the way Botland works is there is a post-game time, a pre-game time, and an in-game time. So right now it says the match is over, the next one starts soon. This is the post-game time. This won't exist in the real game. You wouldn't see a timer at all, and you would just see like leave game, and you'd click a button and you'd leave the game. Or you could look at the leaderboards if you want and see who did what happened. Okay, great, whatever. The pre-game is about to start in 18 seconds though. And when that starts, you're immediately going to be presented with 3 choices of buffs. And the buffs will be something like, deal more missile damage, or you take less damage, or your bots move 3 times faster. It's just something like that. So you'll get 3 choices. You only get to pick one. And then you'll also get these choices again at the 5-minute and the 10-minute mark in a match. So right now, you can't deploy a bot. There's no actual like interacting with the game in that way. But you would be able to pick your buff. And then if your buff requires that you have to change your code around, then now is the time when you do that before the chaos of the game starts and you got to scramble. So if you got something that says, oh, if I'm on an even numbered tile, then I do double damage, then you might modify your code here to say something like this. If this is actually going to be kind of tough to do, but we'll just say like something like this for now. I'll just say if x equals 2, then we want to try firing our lasers or something like that. Otherwise, we want to do the rest of our code. So we could do something along those lines. And I know I didn't just code it so that it's even tiles, but you get what I'm saying. How much does it cost to get into pre-beta? Today it is, what's today? Tuesday? So it's 90 points today. And I said when I get 1,000 followers, I will probably make a discount for I don't know, maybe until we get 1,100 followers or something like that. HSRU says, stream is lagging for me, so if you ever ask me to do anything, I will most likely not hear, including reply to this message. All right. Okay. So yeah, the nice thing here is that we got the buff showing up just in text. So if we wanted to, I actually could do this now. I could make these buttons, and when you click them, I could have them tell the server which one you chose. But I do feel like there's some benefit to making the UI look proper, so let's do that. Okay, so we're gonna make, let's see, we have like chat log and whatever else. So we're just gonna save this as a container. No, we want chat message, I guess, or even leaderboard entry. It's kind of as a container. I don't know, maybe I should just make it a container. Yeah, fine, I'll just do that. So we'll save it in containers. I'll say buff choices. Really what this is it's a choose 3 dialog. So I guess I should call it that. Choose 3 dialog. That way there's no concept of what this is showing. It could show 3 like okay, save, and cancel for all we care. Okay, so we have a choose 3 dialog. Let us start to code it. Choose 3 dialog. The way this is going to work, we don't need chat message. And what we could do is, yeah, this choose 3 dialog could just be something for... have I dug myself into a hole already? So let me think about this. Choose 3 dialog will shows 3 somethings. We don't know what, but the somethings that I want to show is a buff choice, and a buff choice is a div description and a button choose. Okay, great. So how do we pass this in to choose 3 dialog? I guess we would say we want to choose 3 dialog where the children are buff choices. Okay. That's something we can do, I guess. So we don't even have state here necessarily. But let's do this, and then we'll also make something like, I'll just call this buff choice because I feel like that's the most descriptive. I could make it more generic if I wanted to. And we can always change that later. And remember, by the way, I've only deployed like dummy bots here. HSRU is a master strategist who is out to kill me. You have to pass in a function via props to the buff choices. Yeah. So I'm planning on having something like that, definitely. Create a choose class and pass 3 of them. I think I'm going to do, so buff choice, we're going to take in, for now I'm going to make this as simple as possible. So let's do this. We'll say span description, well we can say this dot props dot description, and then button choose. And choose is always going to be the same text, but I think we do need to wrap this in this. No, do we? I don't know what we have to do for JSX here. Let's just wrap it in a string anyway. Although, yeah, I don't think that's necessary. And we'll get rid of the styles here. We can later pass those in. So buff choice is really just, it's a description and a choose button. And when you click it, well, we need like an on click here. So I guess on click equals this dot props dot on click, really, or shows buff. Yeah, good. That's it. That's all this does. So we need to pass in a description and a function, and we're set. So now the choose 3 dialog, we want to do something like what we did in Botland app. We need to map all of the data that we get in to something. And that's where I'm going to try to figure this out. So let's make this as simple as possible for right now. So we're going to say this. We say, actually we can just base this on here. So what we had originally was something like this. We map buff data to a div. What we want to map it to now is a buff choice, where the key is the buff data's ID. The description is buff data.description, and the on choose, or whatever I called it, on choose buff. Yeah, that's what I'm calling it. So on choose buff is something. So let's say that was passed in here too, I guess. Dot bind buff data.id. Okay, now the problem is that this is not generic. Then also this is totally wrong. Delete that. Then we don't need, well, yeah. So I wonder, can we pass in, how would we do this? Wait, how about this? Here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to make it so that this works. Then I think I'm going to make it so that it looks better and is better code. So we have a container here. We're going to do import buff choice from component / buff choice. We don't need, well, we could use this, I guess. Yeah, like I said, I'll continue along this bad path, and then later I'll change it to a better path. So buff choice, whatever, the reducer that I have here. Yeah, this. Okay. So now in Botland app, we want to render a choose 3 dialog when we have, so this is going to be choose 3 dialog, and that's when we have buff choices. So let's put this here. We're going to say we want to choose 3 dialog who takes in, actually we could just do this, and we can say on choose buff equals this dot on choose buff dot bind this. Now we can get rid of this stuff, I think. Okay, now we make an on choose buff function, on choose buff ID. console.log you chose buff ID equals ID. Choose 3 dialog should take an onChoose buff function in the constructor probably. In the constructor? And not in props? You don't even call the constructor directly though. Like, shouldn't it just be passed in through props? I thought that was the canonical way of handling this stuff in Redux and React. Alright, and also, I don't know if this is going to work, so let's try it. So now what we should see is somewhere on this, yeah, here we go. So there are 3 buff choices, and now we say you chose buff ID object 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 object. Okay, well that's not quite right. We bound it to buffdata.id. All right, let's put a breakpoint in this function and take a look at what's happening. Botland app on choose buff. Okay, now what happens when I click this? So this gets hit. ID is a synthetic mouse event. So percent damage taken. No, this is wrong. Yeah. So we need to make this ID comma event. That wouldn't even be right. What do I do here? On choose buff, we bind this. So this is a class function, so that makes sense. We pass that into props. Now the second time we bind, going to be passing, oh, whoops, this has to, yeah, this is what I wanted to say. Except for this won't be, darn it. Okay, we got to do it this way. I think this will work. All right, let's try it out. React might be sending more than one argument in there. It definitely was, but I think, okay, yeah, this worked. So I was just calling bind wrong. The first argument to bind is what you want the this argument to be. Now the this argument should be a Botland app. Perfect. Okay, good. And we got the ID of what we wanted it to be. And React does pass in a third argument, which we don't care about, but the event is at least an event. So this is totally fine. So now we've got it saying you chose buff ID percent damage dealt, which is increases damage by 15. If I chose increase missile range and I choose that, yep, it says chose increase missile range, and then this one is percent damage taken. So great. You can choose buffs now on this really sucky dialog down here. So there are 2 parts to this that need to be done. One is make the UI much nicer, which is like position it over the canvas and make everything bigger. And then the other is make the code nicer. So try to make choose 3 dialog more generic. Now I want to take a look at this part first, because making the UI nicer is something that we're only going to make it nice enough anyway. It's not going to be the final UI right now. So let's take a look at trying to make the code more generic. The problem with this code is that we've hard-coded buff choice in here. If we were to make this generic though, we'd need to know, like this, for all we know, this choose 3 is just going to have just buttons, let's say. And then we need to know what the button date is. So I wonder if we can take in these 3 buff choices from Botland app. It might be possible. Let's try something really simple here. So we have a choose 3 dialog. Let's pass in options equals, I don't know how to do this. Like I want to return, let's say this dot get options. Let's do that. So now we'll make a get options function. Get options. We're gonna say return. We're gonna return. Oh man, I don't know how to do this. I could just not make this generic. Well, all right, here's what I was thinking, is what if I did something like this? I have the div from here, and I pass in something like this. Hello world, how are you? You might be over-engineering this. Yeah, I could just make this, instead of a choose 3 dialogue, I could just make this a buff choices dialogue. And then everything's fine, because hard-coding buff choice in a buff choices dialogue is not a problem. However, I still want to see, does this work? Get options. So we have this dot get options. So now the options will be here. And can we do, oh, we need a key as well. Okay, fine. Let's put keys on here. Probably need to pass in a factory via props and call the factory. Yeah, I think that's probably better. Okay, so then yeah, let's just get rid of this, because I don't really care about making this generic. Get options, we're done with, and the choose 3 dialog is going to change its name everywhere in the code to a buff choices dialog. Now the only place where it doesn't change exactly is right there, and then we save this as buff choices dialog, and we get rid of the choose 3 dialog. So that is now gone. Next, we look for choose 3 dialog and just make sure it was deleted everywhere. It should be, but this is how we'll make sure. That, yes, I only renamed the file. So this is buff choices dialog. Okay, great. Problem solved. No more generic code. So I'm going to remove that from the, well, we did technically make the code nicer, so that's done. But try to make this more generic, we've canceled. So let's save that. Now, in order to test this, before we make the UI a little bit nicer, let's just have this rebuild and try it out. Why is this taking so long? 14 seconds. Okay. Yeah, so if I scroll down here, yep, I have the same things just like before, and these things are all totally correct. Great. Okay, now let's deploy some bots over here, so that if HSRU wanted to play against someone, he's at least got someone to play against. And now we make this UI a little bit nicer. Remember that this will not be final UI. Not trying to make this as great as it can possibly be. We know that we're going to have 3 buff choices. Let's say style equals div style. So we're going to put a, I don't know, I'm just going to make the colors look ridiculous for right now so that we know where things are. Let's say that the height of this thing, actually we probably should take in the height from there, huh? Let's take a look, close these other things. So Botland app creates the buff choices dialog. And yeah, this would have to be based on the window height, I guess. But there would need to be a minimum height. So we could say const height equals, and we might as well pass this in. We have window size reducer. Yeah, there. So now we have window size state. We need to make use of this. Why is this used here? It isn't even needed. What is something that uses this? The leaderboard uses it. Yeah, so we can say window width and window height. So here's the window width. We want to say, let's take the window height divided by 2 and just make sure that we're at least, I don't know, 500 pixels. Doesn't matter so much. So now we can say height here. We don't need px because React adds that automatically. Overflow auto, there should be no overflow. We have background color, we have all that other stuff. Great. So next we also want to say position absolute, and we say that the top is going to be const top equals window height divided by 2 minus height divided by 2. So there's top, and left is going to be, we'll just say 300 for now. I'll eventually change that. Okay. Oops. Okay, so let's try this out, and then I'm going to need to rerun the watch so that this picks up the new file that I have. Right. All right, here we go. So we should see the UI at least show up over everything, even though it'll still look really ugly. Yeah, there it is. Okay, and these choose buttons still work, right? Yeah, okay, great. All right, so if I just left this like this, I'd still be pretty much fine with this for now. It's not great. In fact, actually, maybe I should leave it like this, because this is not final UI. Let's make it a little bit nicer, I guess. Let's also restart the watch. And since this first one's going to take a very long time, we'll just make a quick save. Well, this part takes hardly any time. I don't know why Gulp takes so long to start up, but there, it said 891 milliseconds. It's clearly longer than that, but there, we at least kicked off a build. Good. So now, what I want to do is the same thing I kind of had in this test HTML, where we've got this laid out like this. So let's see what I did there. We had a div for each of them, and then a span, a BR, and a button. Well, that's actually up to buff choice to do. So we have a div, a span, and a button. I guess I just left out the BR. So there's that. This will now look like, well, it looks still pretty stupid. We got to set the width of this thing. Width is going to be, let's take window width minus, well, let's set this up here. Const width equals window width minus 100. So there's very little padding on each side. And we say width here, and then we say, oh, that's actually fine for that. And then the width of each of these individual things. So const buff width equals, let's say, padding between buffs equals 30. So now buff width is going to be the width of this entire dialog, and then the, oh wait, we need to say, yeah, so we take the width of this whole thing minus padding between buffs times 2, since there are 2 buffs, there are 2 paddings, and then divided by 3. So that's the width of each buff. So now we can pass that in here. Width equals buff width. Okay, good. Now here we can say const div style equals width, this dot props dot width, and then style equals div style. Okay, yeah, let's try this out. Noob for Lunch says you don't have to use 3 different divs for that if you use display inline block. I would still need some element to contain these, right? Like, are you saying it could be a span because, well, are you saying I don't need an element, or that it could be a different element? Okay. So yeah, the left needs to be based on the width, which I had not done. So we need to say const side padding equals 50. So I guess this is now side padding times 2, and then the left becomes just side padding. Yeah, but not 3 individual ones. Okay, wait. I don't follow this because this is the ideal UI that I was going for. And I think what you're saying is that I can use inline block, but these black boxes here, so like this box that I'm highlighting in red now, these black boxes wouldn't need to be an individual element. And that's the part I don't follow. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just, like, I'm clearly not the greatest at this or anything. So we have the width for these things set. We want to also put a border around this of like 1px solid red. Actually, let's make this 5px, just so it's obvious where this thing starts and stops. And then we wanted, what do we have here? I think I put, yeah, display inline block on the buff choices. So we want that here too. Display inline block. Well, so the first thing this would have picked up is going to be that red outline. And then I've got to wait and it'll pick up the inline block. There we go. Now it should have that. So they should be laid out next to each other. Yes, good. Okay, then we expand it so that it takes the full size of the dialog. What did I even set the height to? I set it to something way too large. I set it to window height divided by 2. No, let's make it much smaller than that. So let's take a look at how big this is right now. I want it to be roughly like that, let's say. So that's 250. Yeah, 250 is fine. Okay, and then what else do I want to do? I want to make sure that the buffs always take up that full height. So we'll say const buff height equals height. And we'll pass this in here. Buff height. Good. Then over here we say the same thing. And yeah. All right. Let's try that out. Also, what's going on the server over here? HSRU has stopped playing. Oh, I don't think... Oh, that's too bad. I don't think it picked up the change. Also, I did want padding in between here. So I need to start these... Oh, these don't have any concept of space in between. Well, alright, let's take a look. These should at least be taking up the full size of this background now. Okay, good. The border's going a little bit outside, but I think that's just how border works. Okay, so now putting space in between here, I could say, let's try something out. So let's take this div and let's say margin right is 20px. Yeah, and then let's do the same thing over here. Margin right is 20px. That didn't exactly. Let's cut the border down. Yeah, I can't have a border like that, I guess. Or not that large at least. Let's change this to 1px. Same thing over here. 1. Okay, so now we can at least see where these things start and stop. That's a little better. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think this is worth really fussing over. So let's try something. Set the border of this to be this, and then margin right, this dot props dot margin right. Good. We say margin right equals padding between buffs. You can apply padding left 0 to remove the padding. Wait, is there padding right now? Oh, also, yeah, I guess I didn't need to come up with padding values myself. I could have just made HTML do that for me. Oh well. All of this is going to be changed later, I hope. Okay, so I expect when I refresh this page that these things will be laid out a little bit stupidly because I probably pushed them onto 2 different rows. Yeah, I did. But this mostly looks fine. What if we got rid of the margin on here? Yeah, that doesn't do anything. It's because this is going just slightly outside of... In fact, I wonder if it's the borders that are making it do that. Let's get rid of the borders on these things and take a look. Where's the third div? Oh, here it is. Ah, it is the borders. So I just need to increase the size of this. So the width of this is going to be window width minus side padding times 2 plus 5. Add the 5 in to account for borders. I'll make this a little bit clearer what all these numbers mean at some point, but for now I just want to kind of test this out. And then I don't know if the margin was necessary or not. And then we'll increase the size of these things. We'll say font size is like 2em. Yeah. Yeah, CSS box model coming to bite me. Okay, that didn't work. Is it the margin on this that's pushing it over? No. The margin's outside the element. Got it. So then what is pushing this in the wrong direction? It should be the width of this div back here. If I just increase the size of this, yeah, okay, so what did this used to be? I don't even remember. Let's just refresh the page. Okay, cool. Slightly bigger now. All right, so if we can find out how much I screwed up. Oh, this should be 6 pixels. Oh, I think that's why. Okay, so if I increase this even by just 1 pixel. No, wait. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What's going on here? What? Oh, so margin is considered in here? Okay. Yeah. Oh, I don't like this. So let's get rid of the margin on this thing and then try again. Because I think the way that I screwed this up was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So it was 6 pixels off. But the margin was there too. So it was like 26 pixels off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Let's just... The width of this shouldn't even matter because I don't plan on having... Yeah, the width of this shouldn't matter. We should just say that the width of this is window width. And then get rid of the background color. Actually, we'll instead put the background color over here. Hey there, Wetsy. The right box should not have a right margin. Yeah, I agree. You just do display inline block with float left so that they all group. That is probably better. And actually, I will write that down. I don't think I'm going to do this right now, though. Try inline block with float left so that all buff choices group together. Because when I do try to make this look good, then yeah, I want to make sure that I'm using everything correctly and that it's as efficient as possible. But for now, we can fake as much of this as we want. Obviously within reason, since this still didn't work. No, what is the width on this? The width is 1680. So for this to not have enough space, what does it even mean? Does it mean I just need to lower the width on this? 540. Everything else have 540? Oh, that was the problem. Oh, whoops. I used width in a computation down here. Oh, raw. So we say that this is window width. This is like buff total width. Okay, it's something like that. Just don't forget to clear the floats. I'll write that down too. Okay, what do we have now? So now we should have 3 buff tiles and just the, yeah, good. Oh, except for, not totally good because of this margin, right? No. Where's that background color coming from? It's here, right? Yeah, so where's that other background color coming from? I thought I deleted that. Oh, I didn't delete it. That's weird. I thought I did. Okay, well now it should look good. Now the button, we want that same thing. So when we want to increase the size of a button, I'm pretty sure we just change the font size on the button. Font size 5. What does that look like? Yes. I choose you. Thanks, Ralph Wiggum. Yeah, no, this looks stupid. I kind of don't even care. This is, yeah, this looks really dumb. And people are going to comment on it, and then they're going to say, like, hey, did you know when the width of the browser is this size that these things are off-center? This is actually what was happening in this test HTML, so I probably should have realized that that would be the case. And this is something I've never totally understood, although I think I have found solutions around this. But this has to do with, and in fact, this is what I had written down here. Really just inline block on both instead of trying to float things weirdly. I think be converted into spans. So you have inline block, you have the width set on each of these things. Oh, vertical line, oh, I wrote this here. Oh man, look at this. I have this in my notes. If the contents of the divs get pushed around weirdly, then add vertical align top to them. And I even have a reference link, and it was to a Stack Overflow. Yeah, and this is why everyone was suggesting sort left, or yeah, float left to me, so that I don't have to do that. But it's too late. This train is already way far off the tracks. So we put vertical align top. Is it on this or is it on? Actually, I could just test it here. Let's try it. Vertical align top. Yeah, it is on that. Okay, so then this should fix this. And then the only thing is that the button should be centered. Well, that's easy enough to do. So let's see, what do we have now? Great, perfect. So increases missile range by 1 tile, increases damage dealt, yep, decreases damage taken. The choose buttons are functional, they just don't look great. So let's make it so that they look better. So we'll do the same thing we did over here, which was to put it in a div of width 50%. So div style equals width 50%, margin 0 auto. Then we put this here. So now buttons will be centered. The buttons will still have a really tiny text on them though. So we want to expand that a little bit. So we'll say const button style equals font size 2em. Sure. Let's put the style in there. Yeah. All right, so at the very least, the buttons are going to be centered. The style, the second style won't have been picked up already. So good. Oh, this is ugly looking though, and wrong. So that's not how we do things. What if I set this to 100%? No. Well, let's just look this up. CSS center div in div. Horizontally center a div in a div. You can apply this CSS to the inner div with 50% margin 0 auto. Of course, you don't have to set the width to 50%. Any width less than the containing div will work. What did I do here? Button class equals buff choose button. Oh, I had margin auto on the button. Oops, I forgot to put that over here. All right, so what do we have now? Okay, well, we have large choose buttons. So we're almost there. Just gotta wait for this next build. Also, yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay, so they're centered when there's enough space, but there isn't always enough space. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Right? What? Should I just lower this width? No. Raise this width? I think I just need to change the font size of this. That's what I'm more concerned about right now. Let's just lower this a little bit. Wait, what? Why are these buttons much larger than they... Oh, I think it's because the div style is getting multiplied. So there's font size 2 here, and font size 2 here. But because this wasn't contained in... I don't know, whatever. Let's just set font size back to 1. Just tune in. If you're trying to center the buttons, you can display the buttons as block inline and do text align center on the parent. Alright, fine. Let's try that. Thank you, by the way. Inline, wait, yeah, it's inline block. And then do text align center on the parent. This is to align the buttons. Alright, so now we wait. And then we give points to everyone who's helped. So points give noob for lunch. Points give orange ray. Points give everyone. There. Yeah, nice. Except for, I guess I did want font size 2 here. All right, well, this is good. Like, These are probably a little too tall actually, so we probably shrink them, but it looks good. Yeah. In fact, I'm actually tempted to leave them how they are. Not rigged. Yes, finally. Okay. How about we tune this down? It sounds like what I need to do is I need to manually say this is 1 EM, although I thought that was the... Don't forget to test in all browsers. I am not going to do that for now, only because this is not final UI. So as long as buttons are clickable, I guess I should make sure buttons are clickable. As long as they're clickable, that's all I care about for right now. At some point, probably about 5 or 6 months from now, before the release of the game, I will make sure that this all looks great on every browser and that everything's polished. That's probably going to take a ton of time. So let's see. Okay, well, the game doesn't... Oh, there it goes. Yeah, okay, so Firefox looks fine. Let's open up iExplore. Yeah, okay, yeah, and as long as these things are clickable, that's all I care about for now. They don't show up over everything. That's kind of weird, but don't really care. I'm running IE6, so make sure it's compatible. Okay. If you ever want to log in from your toaster, Botland's going to work. Okay, cool. So yeah, these choose buttons just need to be functional now. And then I'm happy enough with this. Like, I know this doesn't look great, but it's not supposed to yet. So yeah, and there's no dismissing these for right now. That's also something I'll probably just change later. Okay, so then let's make them, actually let's make them functional in another commit maybe. Or should I do them now? It would mean that Botland app needs a chose buff function. Yeah, let's pass this right in. We'll say this dot props dot on choose buff. So we just keep passing this in from parent to child. Then this now exists in client main. So where we have reset buff choices, we're going to put this here on choose buff. Oh, which means root.js needs to pass this in. Ha ha ha. On choose buff. Good. So we have this ID and event. And now when we make a Botland, or no, when we make a root, where do we make a root? Here. We pass in the on choose buff.bind this. Perfect. I'm running DOS. I plan on playing. Oh boy. I'm going to need to do all this in way fewer bytes of RAM than I thought. Okay, so functionally we will have just changed nothing. But code-wise, everything is going to be different. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so then here's what we can do. We can leave this as is. And we can do this in another commit. So just you chose buff ID equals ID. This is now being sent from main, which is exactly where we want this to be, because this is going to need to send to the server that you chose this. The server is going to need to validate it. Then the server is going to need to tell you chose this and that your buff choices can go away. So yeah, we'll do that in a separate commit. Let's take a look at what I've done so far. Okay, so main now has reset buff choices and on choose buff. So on choose buff, I'm going to say this is called from the UI when you choose a buff. This is the buff ID, so it's buff constants.ids. The ID of the buff you chose. Testing Netscape Navigator. You're going to get so many points. And this is, I think, a synthetic event, but it's like the event from React, which I don't care about at all. So there's that. Next, reset buff choices. What do we say here? This should actually be called at the end of the match, because you don't want to be able to, yeah, okay. This should be called when a match is over or a match begins. That way you don't have any outstanding buff choices. Okay, so good. This needs to be called at the end of the match, because if it's not, well, let's just do it. So we have started new game. It's coming from here. We can say if old game phase equals in game and new game phase equals post game, then we can say this dot reset buff choices. So the match just ended. The game just ended. So get rid of any buff choices you may have had. It's not necessarily something we'll want to keep for the whole time, but for now it makes sense. And right, this is start a new game, reset buff choices. As long as you get the game state before you get your buff choices, this should work out just fine. Yeah, okay, cool. So then the only other thing we have is this, which there was already that there. So nice, let's get rid of that. Console.log, good. This code is now set. So I'm happy with that. Next up, what do we have? So temp, set buff choices. Yep, that's fine. This thing too, I think is fine. I think the only problem is the Botland app is now aware of whether there are buff choices. And I think it has to be, unless from a render function we can return null, in which case we could offload this to the buff choice dialog. However, we use this same paradigm everywhere else. So if that's something I'm going to change, it's something I'll change later. Okay, then root, yeah, we pass in a handler. Here we have a new reducer, and here we define the new reducer. Yep, I'm happy with that. Oh, whoops, no, I'm not. I want to comment one part of this. So let's go into reducer temp. We're going to do in buff choice reducer, we're going to say what this is. This is an object. No, it's an array of objects. So each object in this array has a description and a buff ID, or is it just ID? I don't even remember. Oh, client name, receive buff choices. There we go. Excuse me. Okay. For the format of the objects to use, look at the comment for the reducer, and I'll say, I guess I'll actually say what this reducer is. Buff choice reducer. Each object in this array has a description and an ID. Good. Yeah, I'm fine with that now. Next, the buff. We have a get description. I guess I'll comment that. Return a string. We don't really care about the rest of that comment because get description is a simple accessor. And what else? Buff choice is a new class, a very simple class that just shows the description and a choose button. I'm happy with that. And then buff choices dialog is also a pretty simple class. Sure, there are a bunch of computations that happen, and I'm going to clarify some of those, but it makes a new buff choice out of this. So yeah, cool. So then this is the only thing we have left to do, is to clarify what some of this is. So this is the amount of space that the three buffs should take up. It is not necessarily the width of this buff choices dialog, because due to padding / borders / margins. So I'll say that there. Side padding is the amount of space between the left buff and the left side of the screen. Yeah, this is equal to the amount between, I'll just say the amount of space between the end buffs and the sides of the screen. Yeah, that's a little bit clearer. So buff height is like the height of each buff. Top is pretty obvious, actually. Chat message date, yeah, I don't need, that doesn't even exist. Okay. Padding between buffs is pretty obvious. Buff width is pretty obvious. Yeah, hey Spurtman. Yeah, so I think the rest of this is fine. Okay, cool. So let's just try running this one more time and making sure that this works. And there we go. And yeah, the nice thing is these are all randomly chosen by the server, and then you're told about them. So if I were to randomly add in, not randomly add in, if I were to add in 10 new buffs, you would not see the same 3 every time. But right now there are only 3 buffs, and there are always 3 choices, so you're always going to get the same 3. It's just a consequence of not having coded a whole lot yet. Okay. There is now a rudimentary buff UI that lets you choose one of the 3 buffs. For now, choosing a buff only means printing it to the console. The server is never told about your choice. Verizon Craft, why, or am I missing something? Oh my god, I'm not going to show this on stream because I don't want to advertise for this company at all. This is, well, actually it is kind of cool, but okay, there's now a rudimentary buff UI that lets you choose one of the 3 buffs that the server tells you about. For now, choosing a buff only means printing it to the console. The server's never told about your choice. Yep. Yep. I'm happy with that. Okay. So what we did here, make the UI nicer. So position it over the canvas. Yep. Make everything bigger. Yep. So this is done. So show the UI to the player. That's done. Send the choice to the server and validate it. Now for this part. Okay, well, we have some of this in place. So we have on choose buff right here. We don't have something to send to the server yet though. And what we need to do is the same thing we do here for deploy. So there's a deploy button pressed. We do SPMP router create player bot. So I guess we need to do that same thing here, which is a good thing I looked over there. So now we need to say chose buff. We're going to say that well, it's just based on an ID actually. So there, we're done. Now we go into SPMP router and we make chose buff. Chose buff args. If this dot is single player, if this dot is ready to dispatch, this dot simulation server dot chose buff args. Else this dot socket interface dot emit constants dot client chose, well, player chose buff .args. Good. Now we need a constant for that. So let's update this to 45, and it was called player chose buff, sent by the client to tell when the player chose a buff. Good. Now we also need a chose buff in here. So we have a deploy bot already. Do we? Create player bot is what I called it. And this is a simple router to the arena. So what handles buffs? It's really the game server that handles it. So what we could do is this. We could say chose buff .args, and then we just call this dot player chose buff .args. It's kind of pointless, right? Like we should have just renamed this function into this. Oh, but we need to pass in a player. That's why. Oh yeah, okay, fine. Your player .args, okay. So now we can do this in game server. And this is actually pretty decent, I think. So let's try this out. Player chose buff. We have the player who chose it and the buff ID. And all we're gonna do is the usual player chose buff equals buff ID. Perfect. Next, we launch a game server. And at some point here, we should really write lint code. So there. Now, this is going to take a long time to do. So we got to wait for the client to finish too. And then let's run a normal just lights giveaway here. Congrats, Death to Dom. All right, so we can refresh this, and now we're just waiting on the server. So what do I expect to happen? What did I even just test actually? This isn't going to work. Yeah. So there's another bug I have here. And I'm going to write this down. When you connect to a new server, your buff choices should be reset. Actually, I'm just going to code this really fast. So it's reset leaderboard. Where did I do this? Started new game. There's somewhere here where I don't remember what any of these things are called though. It'd be in leaderboard somewhere. Here, yeah. So connect to server. So we do this dot reset buff choices. Do we have a wipe leaderboard function? No, we don't. Yeah, okay, so let's try this again. So here's what's gonna happen. I'll see 3 buffs show up. Good, I'm gonna hit the connect button here. And now those should have gone away. I think it's because I didn't give this enough time. Hang on, I'll try that. All right, so I hit the connect button. Good, those 3 things went away. Now the problem is I have not been given buff choices because this match already started. Elguz says, how do you type so fast? I don't know how to answer that question. I was gonna come up with a snarky answer, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, okay, so here's what we could try. We could do debug main.socket interface.emit. What is the number that we want here? 45. So we can emit 45 and then just the number 5. That didn't work. No, that makes sense that it wouldn't work. No. That's where it should have worked. I think there's a problem. Oh, there's no listener. Oh, that's what the problem is. Connection main. Okay, so socket.on. Here's what we got to do. We have a deploy happening where? Here, player deploy bot. We got to find wherever this happens. He uses his hands. Hackspert. Radasen. Hey Radasen. Welcome back. Oh, hey, Esku is online. I think Adam misses me. It is my elbows. They're just deformed. They have these extra digits at the end. Here, this is where we need to do this. So, what we do is... excuse me. Man. We set a player chose buff in here. We actually want to bind this to the game server, which I don't even know if we have. Oh, we do. Oh, that's nice. Okay, game server dot bind. This is not a thing I can do. I need to put it here. Player chose buff. Yeah, so player chose buff dot bind this dot game server player. All right. So now we restart the server. It's a song. I actually don't know that song. But that makes it sound a lot less weird. So, yeah, part of the problem is I won't be able to test this that easily. Because when you connect to a new server, for the sake of, okay, yeah. Here's what we should do. Send buffs when you connect to a server if you've never been sent buffs before. Okay, yeah, let's try this out. So here we go. We're gonna hit connect. The buffs are all gonna go away. We're gonna hack it so that it looks like we had a buff. So we hit enter here and check it out. It says player Adam chose buff 5. So yeah, for right now, I can just emit whatever thing I want. So I can actually say like hello if I felt like it. And it's going to say that I chose these buffs. That's why we need validation, because obviously there is no hello buff. Buff salutations with plus 10 decibels. So we got to do a few things. But now we have the plumbing there at least in order to set this up. We just need to finish setting it up. So yeah, a lot of validation needs to happen here. So to do, make sure buff ID is in their set of choices, and then to do delete all of their choices, and then to do grant them the buff to apply buff to all existing entities, including landmines. That's not something that's going to be easy. All accounts reset. Yeah, every Sunday all the accounts get reset. So has pre-beta rod SN. Had a pre-beta account, but it's no longer valid. Yep. Yeah, so right now there are 3 people online, although not much is happening. Once I'm done coding the buff system, I kind of expect that more people will start playing. And I'll do a giveaway or something too. In fact, I'll probably do a giveaway in about half an hour. Okay, so make sure buff ID is in their set of choices. Delete all of their choices. That should actually happen somewhere down here, I think. Grant them the buff. Apply the buff to all existing entities, including landmines. And then finally, I guess, tell the player that they got the buff. That way they can delete their choices. Okay. So just 5 to-do items, and then we're done with this function. And there's something we've got to solve before that, though. None of this is going to work because they don't actually have any buff choices yet. So first thing we need to do is this to-do item. Send buffs when you connect to a server if you've never been sent buffs before. This is just to accommodate pre-beta. Users will join after the pre-game time, but they shouldn't be penalized for it. So we give them buffs. Now, in order to do that, we don't really have code set up for this. We have player.cameOnline. That just sets it there online. After you're done connecting, now is when we would send this if we were to send it. So I guess what we need to do is say something like this.gameserver.player joined game player. How is this going to work? How do we know whether they've been online before? Oh, here's one way. Well, here's how we know if they've been sent buffs before. So let's do this. We're going to make a function. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. We're going to make a function, this player. Yeah. So this is called whenever a player connects to the game. It is not necessarily their first time connecting during this game, i.e. they may have disconnected and now they're reconnecting. Okay, so the player here is a player. We're not going to return anything. What we need to do, we need to know if this was their first time playing this game. So we have a function somewhere here, generate buffs for player. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say if player, ooh, will this work? Yeah, these things were pulled from the player depot. Oh my god. It's amazing that I even wrote a prototype for this game. Because there was about to be an incredibly large bug, and it's not a bug thanks to player objects getting reused. Okay, so let's go into the player and let's take a look at, what is it, scene buff IDs. How have I been using this? I think I've just been directly accessing it, or maybe only inside the player class. I'll need to take a look here. Yeah, I've been directly accessing it. So let's make a wrapper, get scene buff IDs, return this dot scene buff IDs. IDs, good. Okay, and now we should put a comment here for what these are. This is an array of buff constants dot IDs. All right, so now we have get scene buff IDs. We're going to change this to that function, and then we're also going to, where we had written player something joined game. Yeah, if so, scene buff IDs equals player dot get scene buff IDs. If scene buff IDs dot length equals 0, then this dot generate buffs for player. Perfect. Okay, now here's where we get to test this. So what's going to happen is this. I'm going to join the game, and I'm going to join it while the game is already in progress. But because of the code I just wrote, I should be told that I get 3 buffs. Oh, there's also something else I need to do here. Did I write this? When a player reconnects while they have buff choices outstanding, they should be told about those choices. Yeah, there's that too. But that's at least on the to-do list. I'm not going to do that now. That's something I can do later. So there will be a bug here, but it's not super important right now. So let's see at least the basic case. Does that work? So here are buffs. I'm going to connect, and now I should be given 3 totally different buffs. They're all, I mean, there are only 3 buffs to choose from, so they're going to be the same. And I did not get those. Okay. Why did that happen? So let's see this. Player just joined the game. They have scene buff IDs dot length scene buffs. Let's try that. I don't know why this didn't work. We generate buffs, we add them to the scene buff list, set current buff choices, and then we send them to that person. That is very strange. Unless, no, that, what? Yeah, what's going on here? Is this code not even getting hit? That wouldn't make any sense. Are you hosting the server on your machine? So when I'm testing this one, I am, but the one that you see online here, this one is being hosted on a DigitalOcean VM. So let's hit the connect button, and we see here, oh, take a look. They have undefined scene buffs. Okay, so I just screwed something up. That means that this is not even an array. Oh, it's not an array. Oh, I'm stupid. Get scene buffs. Scene buff IDs is an object. Yeah, that was stupid. Scene. Okay, fine. This is an object. Okay, well that means that this code needs to change. So const num scene buffs equals underscore dot keys dot length. So now we can put that here. There we go. You can get the length of the object, can't you? There's no such thing as the length of an object unless you put a length property in there yourself. So if I make just a random object with something like name, oh man, sorry, okay. If I make something like name Adam, a.length is going to be undefined. I could have added in a length, but length could be defined as anything. I could have just said the ruler here, and then a.length is going to be whatever I set it to. So yeah, you have to get the number of keys that are in the object. So I should have fixed this now, and that means that when I click the connect button, we should see these buff choices show up again. And I'll reiterate this, not in this order necessarily. They could be in this order. What is the font in Sublime that I'm using? It's called Hack. Perfect. Check it out. We got buffs. Okay, now when I click one of these, it should tell the server about this. So click. Good. Chose buff % damage taken. Click. Chose buff % damage dealt. And click. Chose buff increased missile range. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. All right. In Lua, if you have a table similar to that, you can use table name to get the number of keys. Yeah. Yep, can't do that in JavaScript. I wonder if ES6 adds something like that. I haven't actually looked into that. Send buffs when you connect to a server if you've never been sent the buffs before. So that is now done. I should probably just check that in. And when you connect to a new server, your buff choice should be reset. Yeah, let's do this. But wait, there was what? Where was? This thing. Yeah, so both of these are done. Okay, let's check that in since that's its own commit, really. Excuse me. Hang on, I gotta cough some more. Okay, coughing complete. The capital L is similar to lowercase l in this font. Wait, what? Because like Those are L's. These are I's. These are, well, that's a 1. What else looks similar to this? A pipe, I guess? And a pipe is very clearly like, yeah, so these are all distinct characters. And all the programming fonts are kind of like that too, where these should all be distinct. It's not the same as mine then. Oh. Yeah, I'm using Hack, which is a font I had to download. I was using Consolis before that, and I really liked that too. And then I thought I'll just use Hack and see what happens, and I don't really care one way or the other, to be honest. But the zeros have a large dot in the middle. So that's something about Hack that I haven't seen in Consolis, I think. Okay, yeah, let's check this in. In my case, it's when I type a function param. Oh, okay. Huh. All right, so chose buff, reset buff choices. Yep, don't care about that. Right, no, now I do care about this. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right, well, this sucks. So we got to go into simulation server. We got to copy paste all of this code out to here. Do I need to do this? Maybe I can just route this through the... Simulation server. Do I have who my player is here? I don't. I'm not going to change this then. No, I'll do it the way that I'm doing it now. So I copied all this out. I need to remove all of this code and then remove this code. And so the only change is going to be this function here, which is a good thing I looked into this file. So I do need to check this in. And now when this finishes building, everything's going to be totally broken. So watch this. Does this font differentiate nicely between a semicolon and a Greek question mark? I don't know. Yes, they're very clearly different. Morning, Trump. What font is this? And what is that character right there? That's a lowercase L? Doesn't make any sense. Well, anyway, that's weird. I don't think I would like using that font. Oh yeah, so I wanted to prove that this thing's screwed up. When I refresh this page, we shouldn't see buffs anymore because I just removed how that works. So yep, no buffs. Now what would happen is if I let this timer count down 14 minutes, then you would eventually see it. Actually, no, 13 minutes. Yeah, because, no, 14. Because it's got a minute of post-game time. Yeah, 14. The bigger one is lowercase? That makes even less sense. Yeah, no, that's just a silly font choice. Hey, the Dutch on. Okay, so yeah, that part was done. This part is done. What else do we have here? Yeah, that really needs to be changed design-wise at some point, but it's just such a low priority thing right now. So now when a player chooses a buff, we send that. We also call it the player join the game. Yeah, and I'll need to write a comment for that. I have a comment. I need to write a couple of other things here, though. So player chose buff, we also need to comment on. This is called when a player chooses a buff. There's no guarantee. Yeah. Input in this function needs to be validated. So the player is a player. The buff ID is a buff constants.ids, and the return type is nothing. It's called whenever a player connects to the game. It's not necessarily the first time connecting in this game. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't know if I'm getting sick or if it's just normal talking, because I have been coughing a lot more ever since I started streaming. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. This is something that's going to print out, so let's just put it into logger.verbose. There, and we have a logger in here, right? No, we don't, so this would fail. Let's just get rid of the logger. I don't even want this. It doesn't matter. You'll know if you're sent buffs or not. And that console.log, that will leave in there for now. Please don't infect the rest of us. I'll try to cough away from the microphone then. Abusing Unicode to create tragedy. What is this? Mimic provides fun, frustration, curiosity, and murderous rage. Oh, that is very mean. Oh, man. I've had something like this happen to me before, not because someone was messing with me. This happened in OneNote. I had a command written out. It was something like this, let's say, echo hello world. Here's a simple example. And so you type it into the console, and it said something like syntax error. And it turns out, and this took forever for me to figure out, forever, that the space that I'd copy pasted was not the right space character. So it was treating, anyway, it wasn't exactly echo obviously, but it was the wrong space that was copied, and it was so frustrating. So I imagine if I had something like this happen to me in code, where is it? This thing. If this happened to me, it would probably take me a very long time to figure out. Man. Who would make this? What terrible person. Oh yeah, the slanted quotes though, at least you could see them. And I have had that happen too, where you have some string where you just say like A equals hello, and it turns out these turn into smart quotes, and then you can't use them. So yeah, but that you can at least be like, okay, that's not a string. Maybe that's different, but that sucks too. I had a problem once with regexes searching my code not matching because I had Windows new lines instead of Unix new lines. Oh boy. Italics are bad in the code. Hey, yeah, that looks much better actually. Is that because it was an italic L then? Huh. Okay. Alright, so player joined game. Yeah, and I showed you guys how that's kind of broken, but not really. It's something that I know about. And yeah, chose buff. So here's what we're going to do. When a player chooses a buff on the client, it is now logged on the server, although nothing else is being done with the choice besides the logging action. Good. And then we also want to say when a player joins a game, a game that was in progress. When, how do I say this? When a player newly joins a game that's in progress, as opposed to reconnecting. I should put that here. When a player newly joins a game, as opposed to reconnecting, that is in progress, then they will be sent one set of buffs. This is mostly to accommodate the pre-beta style of playing where you jump into a game at any point. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'm happy with this. Let's do this. Now, next up, we have send the choice of the server and validate it. Well, we got the send the choice of the server part, so now we need to validate it, and then we need to, what is this? Oh yeah. We can leave this comment, or I don't know how I want to do this. This whole set game phase to post game. It would make it so much easier to test, so I guess I will put this back into my code. Alright, let's put it back in. So now if we diff this file, diff current, we should have just the attention and yeah, that stuff. That's fine. Okay, good. So close that and close the rest of this stuff too. Now we're going to validate buffs. So we got player chose buff. Make sure buff ID is in their set of choices. We didn't have a logger before, but we're going to need one now. It's actually really important. So let's go find out where we import the logger. Everyone, when presenting a site school project on a school computer, please change this and that. Yeah, that's easy. Open site.html and notepad. Everything in one line because master. Yeah. I've had that happen too. Notepad is just a simple text edit, so it expects Windows new lines, and when you don't have that, then it just shows everything on one line. So, not the best. Then again, Notepad was never really intended for anything more than that. Import star as logger. So we need to go to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, shared client log interface. Yeah, this should be fine. So now we have a logger and we can do this. Well, let's, can't find log interface. Okay, you gotta be kidding me. Let's test this out. Here, we're gonna just do this from scratch. All right, we're gonna go 1, 2. Oh, that's the problem. Okay. Problem solved. All right, next up. So here's what we'll do. Logger.info. We'll change this. Actually, let's just copy what we have here. So let's take this, put that up there, and then make sure that this works. So we'll wait for this to rebuild, and we'll try this out. Notepad is to make your Christmas wish list. It's even worse when I had a digital media arts class and the teacher wasn't an interactive media major and hardly knew any HTML or CSS and used books to teach people, and I was just making websites. Yeah, I think that if new students know more than a teacher, there's a problem. I was telling a friend about this. I'm not going to use a name here, but there was someone who's like somewhat famous who I was a supplemental instructor at the college I went to, like way back when. And this student was in my class, and yeah, without telling you a name, this is kind of a pointless story, but it was a class for Java. It was like Java 1. So you're learning about, hey, here's what a programming language is, here's what classes are, here's what a for loop is. It's not people who know anything about, like, oh, you should apply this design pattern, or are you sure that this gives you the best performance? It wasn't anything like that. It was like, here's a variable. And the teacher said something along the lines of, oh, here's when you'd use this for loop, or something like that. And the student raised his hand and said, isn't this a case where you'd want to use Python actually instead of Java? And he listed off some reasons that I just thought, come on, man, this is a Java 1 class. You're around a bunch of beginners. There's no reason to show off here. So I think if a student like that is in class and knows more than a teacher, that's totally fine. But if a teacher doesn't know the content, they probably shouldn't be teaching the class. Okay, so yeah, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to connect, and I should see, uh-oh, I don't see logger info. Maybe logger doesn't work that way. Let's go into game server, and where we have logger.info. Oh, the logger info call never made it in. Okay. All right, we just gotta wait for this to finish building. Do you think I should be coding if I know nothing? I don't think anyone should ever stop themselves from applying their knowledge if they don't know anything, because that's how you learn. But I don't think you should learn while you're teaching. I think you should teach something you already know. Okay, so did this print? It still didn't print. Let's take a look at what's going on here. All right, we're gonna put a breakpoint here. Oh, this is only when you choose a buff. Oh, I'm stupid. Wait, something bad happened anyway. The buff choices went away, right? Or were they never there? Or did I? Oh, I know. Okay, yeah, that was all just really dumb. I wasn't testing anything. This is totally fine. This is working. Right? This is working. Let's try .info hello world. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Right. The logger is set to use the console. Okay, so I said at 11 o'clock I'll run a giveaway. I think I'll run it a little sooner. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to make this the same kind of giveaway you guys are used to now. I will again do 2 of these so that 2 people will be able to join. And then while it's running, I'll tell you guys about the game. So let us make this be keyword botland. And let's advertise this. Done. And then let me show you guys what the game is about. And I'll also run a countdown timer, as always. Let's set it for 3 minutes. So you guys have 3 minutes to type Botland exactly as you see in quotes on your screen if you want to get the pre-beta, and I'll show you guys what the game is about. So here's Botland. There is an arena, and you will make bots. So let me delete everything that's in here. The way that you make bots is by picking what hardware you want over here. So I can pick something like missiles, melee, cloaking. So let's take cloaking, and let's take lasers. Actually, I'll make lasers level 2, and let's take landmines. Okay, then you're going to write automation for the bot. So I can say something like this. Let's prioritize shooting our lasers if we can. Then we will lay a landmine if we can do that. Actually, let's do that at the end. Let's cloak if we can do that, and we'll pursue an enemy. So, and we'll put the cloaking code inside of this. Yeah, perfect. And then let's move around. So here's my code. I'm going to deploy this bot, and you'll see it's doing exactly what I told it to do. So over here you can see it's trying to see if lasers can hit, but there's nothing around it to hit, so it doesn't do anything. Then it tries to find a closest enemy, but there's none of those either, so it's not cloaking. But it can lay mines. So this is its kind of backup code. It's just laying mines and moving around. And if I wanted to, I could write this in JavaScript. And is anyone else online? Yeah. Okay, good. Cool. People are logging in right now. Oh, and hey, Tyron. And hey, Galactic Flash. What's with the typing Botland? Oh. Yeah, so it's a team game. You try to get the most points, and you get points just by getting kills in the game. So you can see, Etsy has code that's moving left and down. All right, well, let's make my code move left then. How about that? We'll deploy a new bot. So this bot is always going to move left when it can. It'll eventually get over to here and start shooting lasers, but I have a feeling these are artillery bots. I have a feeling because of a certain pre-made script. Yep, they're shooting artillery at me. Okay, but I'm moving out of the way, so I'm taking a little bit of damage from the splash, but I'm not taking a lot. And now my lasers let me shoot this thing. Oh, okay, I died. All right, what's our countdown timer at? We got 42 seconds left. So yeah, what you'll be getting by typing the words Botland, you'll be getting entry to a raffle for the pre-beta giveaway. Now, pre-beta accounts are deleted every Sunday. So if you want to get more information about this, you can go here. And also, something new, this was just added last night. I finally set up a wiki for this. It's very slow to load sometimes, and there's nothing really on it yet. Oh wait, no, I take that back. Who did this? Oh wait, no, that was there apparently. Neat. Cool. Yeah, so this is up. I will run the giveaway twice. So we will do roll. So it is token, and we'll just make sure has pre-beta token. Nope, good. Okay, cool. And the second person is the Etsy, who already does have it. So we'll do another giveaway, and it is Noob for Lunch. Has pre-beta Noob for Lunch. Okay, cool. Oh, Noob for Lunch has never played, and actually token hasn't either. I didn't read that. Huh. Well, congratulations. I will cut this out now, and I will give you guys access to the game. So let's do this. We have token and Noob for Lunch. There we go. And oh, did that work? Uh-oh. Botland bot didn't say anything. Do I actually validate? That's part of the giveaway thing. It validates everybody. So yeah, that's why you have to type it. Roving Eye, I don't know if you saw this, but the way that it worked was whoever typed something would show up over on this left side, and then it would pick from them. Okay, yeah, so something just screwed up, but I don't know what. Hang on, let me see. Token, did you get access to the game? Oh, there it is. Wow, that was just really delayed. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. All right, so now, yep, good, cool. So you guys have access to the game. I do request that you watch this video to learn how to play. Some of it's a little bit outdated right now, but you should be able to connect and start playing right away. And your username is going to be your Twitch name. So I can actually see any login attempts. Well, I got to log in over here first. So let's do this. Okay. Cool. Clear scroll back, screen -RD. Yeah, cool. So you guys got added.